How important a place do you think does the New York Times play in public life in the United States? Where would you rank it as against other newspapers, against other forms of media?
Well, I don't think we can still become a pivot point for discussion, but that sort of central role has become dispersed into a much broader ecosystem. And part of what happens is we can do a story as say, the Irish Times did this week about what seemed to be one woman battled for health care that didn't work out and she died, right? And in the old days, the newspaper would write about it, and maybe a few radio programmers would talk about it. As it is, that story went everywhere, rapidly. And a lot of social media I tend to think of as kind of the new paper boys who are taking these stories and throwing them onto people's doorstep. And what looked like our enemy, Facebook, Twitter, that they were going to be the end of us. Actually, if you peer into what they do, you know, every 4 seconds on Twitter there's content from the New York Times. And our big challenge, your big challenge, is not reaching old doogers like me. It's creating and finding a new audience. And I do think the ability of our work to go viral is important. And part of what I think people think of the web as preoccupied by celebrity, preoccupied by trivia. If you want the web to really go crazy, put a piece of fresh news out there. Nothing will activate or engage the web like real actual news, and that happens to be the business that we're in, that you guys are in, and news is the killer app on the web. Nothing more.
But how attached are you to it being on newsprint? How important is it that there still is the physical newspaper rather than being something that could be just first published and then go further on the net?
Well, my attachment to newsprint comes from the fact that we put the one kind of paper out there, right? If you think of it, think of explaining ourselves 20 years from now, where you say, well, we used to declare a halt to the news cycle, and we like to mush these stories onto print, and then we bind them up and we bring them to stores or bring them to people's houses, throw them on their lawns. And you know, 20 years from now, people are going to say, why in the world would you do that? The reason that we're interested in that right now, we do that for the same reason robbers go to banks. That's where the money is. That's where, you know, over and over I hear from people, you know, why are you killing all these trees? Just to get information out. And I always say, well, that's how we make those stories that you guys are all stealing. That's how we pay for them.